Hi, it's Steffi from Steffi's Beads and Baubles. What I'm going to do today is show you how to make this beaded candy cane. I've been getting a lot of requests for this video, and I've got other videos I want to do because I also do a tree and I do angels and other miscellaneous fun things, but today's going to be the candy cane. And the supplies you're going to need are your two colors of seed beads and sequins. You're going to need a good thread, which you can just use a regular white beading thread, but I've got red for the edging and white for the body of the piece. You're going to need a piece of felt to cut your shapes in each color that you want to use. I use white for the front and red for the back. I have another video showing you how to do this. And you can get sequins at Hobby Lobby, Michael's. You can get them at Walmart. So pretty much anywhere. And I use the 5mm, which it says right on here, 5mm. And these are kind of an iridescent, but I used a little bit sparklier one than that for my video. And those are these here. And these are a little bit more iridescent if you look at them. They're very shiny. And I just buy like an opaque iridescent or an opaque iris. And if you don't have many sequins, a site that I have no affiliation with except as a huge customer is Cartwright Sequins. And you just put into your browser Cartwright Sequins. They'll pull right up. I don't get anything from them. I don't even get discounts when I buy from them. But they have the most amazing selection of sequins. And you're going to stitch this little guy together with your seed beads. Now, I can only give you approximations. You're going to need approximately 250 seed beads to do this trim. And to do your stripes, approximately 72 for the white and 80 for the red. But see, it depends on you, because no two ever come out the same. If you look, every one of them, I've done them in different colors. They come out different every time. The corner's never the same. They're always a little bit different. So this is one of my favorites. I'm old enough to remember when this color was very popular in the 60s. I'm 58. When I was a little girl, my parents had shag carpet this color, and this blue is what they had on their Christmas tree. They had a white aluminum tree. If only I had that tree today, they're worth a fortune. But anyway, it really depends on you, because if you use a 5mm sequin, this is what it might be. And seed beads, the same thing. 250 for the edge, because you use a lot of them to sew this edge on. And then the same amount of sequins and seed beads to do the base of the piece, because you're going to use seed beads to hold your sequins on. So I have here 402 seed beads, and then the sequins approximately 150. But that's a ballpark. Make sure you have more than enough. And I am going to be making up kits to sell on Etsy with the basics, with your felt, your seed beads or sequins, and some thread. I'll probably start with the red and white and eventually offer other colors, but I'll at least get this red and white one. I'll try to get that on there today. The only holdup is I'm trying to come up with a instruction sheet. So for now, the video is the only instruction I have once I get it done, but I'm trying to come up with an instruction sheet. So that's the only thing I'm waiting on to get it completely finished, but I'll still try to get them listed, and then my son said he'd help me do the construction sheet. So to get this started, you're going to take your felt, and you've got this white felt here, and I've got my needle threaded. Now, you can use a beading needle, and that's what they look like. I found a sewing needle that's a little thicker, but it's a lot shorter, and as long as when you pick up the needle, you hook onto a bead, the bead rolls back off the needle. In other words, you don't want the bead getting stuck. So as long as the bead doesn't get stuck here when you pick it up, you're good. So I have a little magnetic case I bought at Hobby Lobby, and I had 3 or 4 of these nice little ones in here. When I do use a needle, I use a size 10 because it has a little bit bigger hole and it's easier to thread. So you're going to take your candy cane and you're going to go through where the first sequin's going to be, pull the knot tight, and I do a pretty hefty knot. I knot it through 2 or 3 times just to make sure it's a nice big knot. But then I go back through to secure it and then back up again so that I have a nice base. Now since that one I went a little bit too low, I'm going to go back through again. I wanted to start it more up here. It's harder to do this because I'm kind of standing over the camera. Okay, now this is important. You're going to pick up your sequin upside down. Now these are semi-cupped, or sometimes they're called cupped. And they're kind of like this. They're like a cup. When you flip it over, it's up or it's rolled on the bottom. You want to pick it up cup size down because you want to put the bead on after that so that when you roll it over and you pull it down and you have it on your felt, that cup is facing up. Now you're going to go back through just the sequin. You're not going to go back through the seed bead because that little seed bead is going to hold your sequin on. And then you're going to do your second one. Same thing. Upside down. Put your seed bead on there. And you're going to nestle it kind of close. You're trying to kind of make a base for your candy cane if you want that angled look, which I like. So you want to get this kind of in the middle there, and you're going to want to see how it's kind of making a slight arch there along the bottom of the candy cane. And then you're going to nestle it together kind of like that. I take the needle and kind of push it and then hold it in place and then pull it. Okay. Now, to do the row 2, I use the same color thread. If you are detail oriented and you want to switch out thread, you can do that. Well, now this row would be the same color, but I'm saying when I switch to red, I was misspoken. This is still white. But if you want to, I have done that. But that's a lot of work, a lot of knot tying. But if you're making a gift and you want it to be really perfect, you can do that. Now, this is to do the second row. This is how you're going to kind of get that curve started that I have on some of them. Some of them it's straight, some of them it's a curve. If you want the curve, just kind of tuck it up like that. And then you're going to go below the first row. And you're going to keep adding your seed beads and sequins. Just be careful because even now I sometimes mess up and go back through that seed bead when I'm not, if I get a phone call or somebody distracts me, I still do it. It's easy to do. Another thing I want to point out is it's never going to be exactly the same every one of these you do. Every single one's going to be different. It might take more rows. It may take more sequins per row. They might be more tilted one way or the other. It really, really depends on you and what you're doing at that exact moment. And then you're going to curve this one slightly up like this to get your curve for the next row. So see how that made a nice curve. Now it's not perfectly straight. You can see it's kind of at an angle. But guess what? It's handmade. That's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then you're just going to come back up under here. And now you're going to start with the red. And this is where if you want to be detail oriented, you can tie a knot. But I'm telling you, it's a lot of work. But if you're a perfectionist or you really like the idea of having the thread match, you can do that. And you're just going to do the same thing. And you're just going to keep going until you get up to here. Now, the corners are weird and every one will be different. So don't worry about it. You're going to see it starting to curve. You're going to go across this first row, and then what I tend to do is go up a few until I like the angle, and then I go straight across. Then I fill it in. And then I do the same thing on this one, and I fill it in. And no two are ever identical. They're all different. No two are ever the same. Some come out better than others, but if you cluster it like this one's layered a little bit, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's your own piece. It doesn't have to be perfect, but no two are going to be the like. This one's not even as perfect. You can see, but you can do this too. You can tuck them. You can tuck them, and then that way the pink is overlapping the white a little bit there. But don't worry about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you can do the angle any way you want. Just have fun with it, you know? Just have fun with it. So after you've gotten your whole piece done and it looks like this, it's going to be like this. This is what the back should look like, somewhat. All those stitches. And it's nice and tight. And to tie it off, you're simply going to come through at the back, tie a knot, and then I go around and around and around a few times. I can show you real quick on here, even though it's not done. I'll show you how I tie it off. I just come to the back, I go through the felt like this. I go through the loop once, and don't cut off too much thread, because you can add on very easily, just doing the same thing. And then once I tied that one knot, I'm going to go around and around 2 or 3 times this direction, and then I'm going to go 2 or 3 times the other direction. And then if you're really concerned about it, which I've never had one come unravel because you figure this is going to be on the inside, you can touch it with glue if you really want to. But that's how I tie a knot. And then if I've run out of thread, then that's where I'll just do the same thing. I'll come back up, I'll tie it, I'll knot it again, and I'll come up and back down and back up and start my new row. And you can do the same thing if you're changing colors. It's really easy. But once you get it to this point, where did I put that guy? There he is. Then you're going to pick the back that you want. I like to do a complementary color. I usually use the white on the front unless it's a real dark color. Like on this one, I used a green or the blue. I think I used a turquoise blue underneath because that was so vibrant. I didn't want white underneath that. But for this one, I just used white. Then I'm going to put red on the back, but you can put white, you can put blue, green, whatever you want. Then you're going to take your needle and thread. Again, tie a big old knot. And, oh, that's the wrong one. Here it is. Single thread. Oh, I guess I doubled that one. I think that's for the loop. Oh, here it is. Okay, I'm trying to have all the steps ready for you. Now to do this, you're going to come up through the middle, like this. And you can cut off that flap of thread. But you can get this kind of the knot in between. Come through the beaded side because nobody will see that. Then I'm going to go across and over and loop it. Try not to come up inside the sequin though. Now see, once you have that, you've got a loop. Now I'm going to pick up 3 beads. And most of the time when you buy beads at like Hobby Lobby, Michael's, there's going to be different sizes. They're not going to be perfect. You can see, let me see if you can see that. Just try to get them as close as possible. Now see, that middle one is too tiny. I don't like that. So I would take that off and find another one that's kind of more square, like that. And try to get 3, let me see if I can get that where you can see it. 3 that are somewhat close. And then you're going to do that circle again. You're going to go over and come through the middle of both and pull it until you get a loop. Now, you don't want the side facing you, you want the back side. You're going to come up through the last bead like that. It's going to look funky. What did I do? Oh, there it is. Okay. It's going to look funky at first. But that's what's going to get fixed as you go around. And then from then on, you only add two beads. You're going to go through, and it's a little hard because you are going to hit those sequins, but just hit the back of them. If you go through, then you'll end up with a thread over the top of them. You don't want that. And then you're going to pull up on it and that'll start making your edge, see? And you're just going to keep going all the way around. And they don't have to be perfect, but you just don't want to use a really big one with a really small one. And just keep doing that. 2, come through the end one. And see, that one's a little bit bigger, that bead. And just keep doing that all the way. Now, what about when you get to the end? How do you tie them off? Well, I had one done for you that I fixed, and then my camera died, so I had already finished that one. So what I did here is I did kind of a fake ending where I have where I started here and where I ended here. And you can see, like, you've done the whole thing, you've come to the end, and if you squeeze them together, you'll see the two ends meet. All you have to do is come up through the one like you would before, like you've been doing. Come up through it, and then you're just going to add one bead, just one, and go back through on the other side, which would have been the very first bead you put on there. You're going to go back through that bead and down into the felt, like this. Oh, it's going to get, of course right now it's going to do a knot, isn't it? It gets tangled so easily. You would not believe it. There you go. And then it finishes it. And then you're just going to do like I showed you, except it's going to be on the back. You're just going to tie the knot like I showed you. You're going to go around, and then you're going to go through the loop, and then just go through it 2 or 3 times each direction and cut it off. And no one will see it. You can tuck it up into the edging. Anyway, I'll leave that. Now, this is also supposed to be where I show you how to stuff it. I do stuff these very gently with a little bit of cotton. I like to use the cotton that you get in vitamin bottles. I think it's got a neat texture because you can shred it up really tiny and thin. But you can use cotton balls out of your bathroom as well. And I just, when I get it, normally I wouldn't have it quite that far over, but I was showing you how to finish it. But that's sometimes okay too, because you can tuck it up in there. And I take my scissors, I'm probably not smart, but I do, and I tuck it in, and then I just start pushing the cotton in like this. Just like that. And then when you run out, you get a little bit more, and you just kind of start pushing it in there. You get it down into the end, and then just fill it in there. And get it to the stiffness you want, because you can puff it up really big, or you can barely stuff it at all. I've done it both ways, but it gives it a little bit more structure when you put that cotton in there. And then you just keep edging it the rest of the way around, just like you were doing, and then end it like I showed you. Now you got your loop. Okay, so you got to do the loop on it, which I'll use this one to show you the loop. And I do double on this. I do double thread on the loop, just because I want it super strong. So, because you're going to be hanging it from this loop. So I double the thread up, and then I like to come in wherever it is I want it to hang. And I come in through the felt to a seed bead that I like. And I'll just come up through that seed bead. Can you see that? And you are going to have a knot showing. But if you don't like that knot showing, another way I do it, which is probably better, so let me show you that way. And see, it's real easy to undo it too. Well, let me show you probably the better way to do it. I like to do it both ways, but I want to give you an option. So you can go that way and have your knot on the back. But if you want to hide your knot, and I honestly do this most of the time, unless the beadwork is so dainty I can't, I'll knot it really good, put a couple knots in, and then I'll knot it again because I like it a real fat knot. Because if a knot comes out, you're in trouble. Then I'll trim the extra. And then what you can do is you can come in through the front, tuck it under the sequins, and then come up. Go dig as deep into that felt as you can, but don't go all the way through. And then see how I came up through that same seed bead. And then you just pull it tight till it's hidden underneath the seed sequins. See? Now you can't see it. Then you're just going to string them on. So you're going to string on your beads. I'm not going to do a full loop because there's no need for me to put you through that. But once you get all the beads on that you want, then you're just going to go back through the next one, come out, and tie the same knot that I showed you to do earlier. Just pull it really tight, make it the loop as long as you want. Some people like a little short loop, some people like a long loop. And you can even, if you really want to, you can make 2 loops. You can come up, make a loop, and put a lobster claw and finding or 2 magnetic clasps on it, and then come up through another one and do the other side. It's not that hard. You just loop it around the hoop. But I tend for these just to use a standard loop like this. I think that's just prettier and easier. If I'm going to hang something like an angel on a rear view mirror, sometimes then I'll put a hook, or I'll just take a twist tie from bread and I'll twist it up onto my mirror. But that's how you make them. They're simple, but they're very time consuming. On average, they take me 6 to 8 hours depending on my day and how much distraction I have going on. But they're all hand stitched, and you got to be patient. But colors are up to you. And I will be getting the kits listed for the red and white ones pretty quickly. I'm going to try to do that while I'm uploading the video. But I thank you so much for stopping by. And if you have any questions, just put a comment down below. If there's anything I didn't address, let me know. I already tried doing this video twice today and had camera issues. So I was a little frazzled, walked away, ate lunch, and I'm back. So anyway, this has been a highly requested video. I'll be doing the tree one next. So I'll get this one done in the next week, but I got to make up all the stages for you, and then I'll show you the tree one maybe in a week. I'll record this one for you. I will also do an angel one for you. And I've done lots of different trees. There's no end to what you can do with this stuff. So thank you again. I really appreciate you watching my video. And I'll be back soon with more. Bye-bye.